today we are going to discuss the four pillars of homeopathic practice. Now, it is not the pillar we use or we read in our, standard textbook of organ of medicines. These are the four pillars of homeopathic practice. Now, there's a difference between philosophy and practice. If we have a sync between the philosophy and the practice, we are a successful practitioner. Now, what happens? We have certain, things in our mind as philosophical learnings, but when it comes to practice, we do not apply the same to our practice. Now, this happens. This happens many times at many places. We see that there is some, no, they're not synced. They have the sync issue. That is why we have different schools in homeopathy or different thoughts in homeopathy or different, style of practices. Some people are using single dose, multiple doses, polypharmacy, monopharmacy, patent practice. Now, all these things, they work. Let me tell you very honestly, they work. And being a clinician, we are, habitual of using such thing in our practice. So today we are going to discuss what are the four pillars of practice. Now, first, we all know homeopathy is a complex science. Why complex science? It is prepared by the simplest method, that is potentization. But the story behind potentization is too complex. Nanobubble theory, entropy, physical chemical properties, you name, and we have n number of theories just to prove the existence of homeopathy. So it's not an easy science. It's a complex science from the physical chemical point of view, from biological point of view, and from understanding point of view. And especially from clinical point of view, people spend their lifespan understanding the homeopathy, and still, we have many things to learn, many areas to explore, many things to see. So it's a complex science. Now, this is a complex science, but yes, it's an in-depth art. How we give homeopathy, how we use homeopathy, how we imbibe the knowledge of homeopathy in our daily routine practice, that is an art. That is the area we are, taught in our education system in, couple of years, 4 years, 5.5 years, 3 years, depending on the courses and the country. That yes, apply that complexity with an art. This will differentiate you. This will be your unique selling point, USP. This would be something which will differentiate your style of prescription from the others. This will make you legend. So that in-depth art we need to understand in detail if we are aiming for a good practice in homeopathy. So it's a complex science and it has an in-depth art. That artistic style nobody can teach us. We can learn from many masters, we can read legends, we can go here and there, but the art, until unless you apply that art, it is not going to solve the purpose. So it's a complex science and an art, in-depth art. It needs dedication. Gone were the days, okay, fine, I've read homeopathy, I've done the course, I'm a successful practitioner. No, we need to be dedicated. We need to be dedicated with each and every patient. That dedication requires surrendering. That dedication requires patience. Because see, complexity, art, and dedication. This is the reason why people leave homeopathy in between within first few years. Because until unless they are dedicated to this profession as a profession, they're not going to have that success or they're not able to achieve that milestone they are entitled for. So it's a complex science. It's an art. It needs dedication. It needs perseverance. The constant urge to learn, to upgrade, to maintain our standard of practice, perseverance, we need to have if we want to practice homeopathy. So it's not an easy science. It's a science which needs that dedication, that perseverance, that art, that complexity. Now, this is just a few words about homeopathy. Now, what are the pillars? it's a common English language. What are the pillars, the base with, which is important if we want to have a certain concrete, we need to have strong pillars. So today we are going to discuss the four pillars of homeopathic practice. Now pillars, but we are actually targeting ourselves to the four pillars of homeopathic practice, the four pillars. So without taking much time, let's first pillar is baseline knowledge. From where I got my homeopathic education, learned what was my exposure in homeopathy, who taught me what, because those 3, 4, 5 years, the initial 5 years is the strongest foundation. And if that foundation is not strong, I'm sorry, we cannot practice the classical or the ethical homeopathy. We would be homeopath for life. We would be experimenting here and there. We would be giving medicines. But until unless that foundation, that baseline knowledge is strong, we are not we should not expect quick success. So that baseline knowledge is the first pillar. Now, this baseline knowledge we acquire, we see, we observe, we read, we perceive. It is not like, having textbooks. Okay, my cupboard is full of homeopathic textbooks, and I've not read that. Even I've read that, I have read only just to pass the exams. No, every day if I go to college or attend classes, I am seeing something, I'm acquiring something, I'm observing something. Now, this is what we were taught in our BHMS time, our graduation time, that there is a difference between observation and perception. An intern or a student may be observing 10 symptoms in a patient, but what was the perception of that symptom? What was the language that we are going to use to convert that into a repertory or a materia medica, or converting the patient's language into materia medica language? Was that perception homeopathic perception? You may be having 50 symptoms in your case, but do we prescribe on those 50 symptoms? No. We prescribe on two symptoms, we prescribe on one symptom, because we have perceived that aura of gelsemium in a patient. So I'll be taking examples in between, so that just to keep the momentum and just to keep the interest intact. So gelsemium, I have observed the whole patient. Now my mind said, no, as per my knowledge of materia medica, this patient does not require acid phos. This patient requires gelsemium. So I use the PDF, potential differential field. I use the anamnesis. I use the baseline knowledge. I use that perception or that power of observation, going into the depth. Okay, fine. This is different. Okay, this patient's headache is different. Okay, this does not require belladonna. It is netramure. It is iris versicolor. It is ignitia. This is how you differentiate remedies. Now, until unless I have not acquired that knowledge, not observed that knowledge, not read that knowledge, I cannot, go and have the comparative materia medica. So this is the strongest foundation. The first pillar is the baseline knowledge. So right now, we are in a society or a system where institutionally qualified practitioners, okay, are there. But let me tell you, even there are no institutionally qualified practitioner. They acquired so much knowledge. They read so many books that we cannot even think of. They are very well versed with the materia medica, the philosophy, the organon, and they started practicing. They started disseminating or promoting homeopathy. So that baseline knowledge was very strong. Now, these are the sources for the baseline knowledge. Books, yes, we have done a course. We have done BHMS, we have done MD, we have done PhD, we have done, now the super specialization courses are on, you know, they're suggesting super specialization courses. So the books are there. And now, books and literature are two different things. Oh, fine, we have standard textbook, but there are certain other literatures also. We have some articles, we have some magazines, we have some notes of our seniors, we have short notes or clinical tips or quick tips. All these things are sources for that baseline knowledge. I still remember our materia medica teacher, Dr. Mukesh, used to tell us few clinical tips in between, and they're very hard to find, very rare to find. The same I do when I go to college, or even the take the organ class. I try to give them some tips which are in the materia medica but verified clinically, so that that literature, that article, that magazines, read in between the lines, that is a good source for that baseline knowledge. Next, what we learn from that baseline knowledge? Okay, I have read books, I have read articles, I've read magazines, I have read literature, I have read this, that. I have read all of my cupboards book, but what did I learn from that? I learned aphorism 3, knowledge of disease. Few days back, when one of my students said, sir, we have heard that there is no need of naming a disease in homeopathy. Why not? If a patient is visiting you and ask for the medical, should you write the 40 symptom that the patient presented to me with all these symptoms, and he's advised rest on what? I need to have the name of the disease. I need to respect that disease part from the medical legal point of view. I know there are certain remedies in homeopathy which are organopathic. Believe it or not, accept it or not, they are there. Our materia medica is full of such remedies. So we are using the constitutional remedies, we are using the organopathic remedies, we are using the specific remedies. I'll come to the specific part later, because that specific is, we use specific according to an individual, not because of disease, but there are medicines. If you search boric materia medica or fatigue materia medica, there are remedies which are given on the basis of the name of the disease. Why? In certain conditions, yes, in certain terminal conditions, in chronic conditions. So that knowledge of disease from the homeopathic point of view, disease, and from nosological point of view, disease, I should be very well versed. If I have the knowledge, I have the baseline knowledge, diabetes patient, yes, but my diabetes patient is responding well to the lycopodium. The other diabetic patient is responding well to the acid phos. The third patient is responding well to the Syphilindra indica. The fourth patient, old age patient, there is no, all changes are there. I need to give Syzygium. There is no other option. So that baseline knowledge is teaching me the knowledge of disease. Next come the knowledge of medicinal power. We don't ask a patient, or we don't ask, like our students, or our student don't ask, sir, how many drugs we need to keep in our homeopathic pharmacy or at our clinic. We always say, how many medicines do you have in your clinic? So there's a difference between drug, medicine, and remedy. So whatever we are using, we are converting that medicine into a remedy according to the patient. We need to be very clear. Okay, fine. I have 350 medicines in my rack kept very beautifully. But am I going to use all these 350 medicines in a patient? No. For my patient, maybe a one remedy, or maybe a biochemic, or maybe an add-on therapy, or maybe an adjuvant therapy, or maybe a comparative trial. Because we see patient from every strata, from every disease we see patient. It is not always that we always see the cough and cold patient. We'll see the cancer patients also. We see the patient where the terminal illness is there, and simply um, improving the longevity of the patient is the prime most focus. It is our aim, as per version 1, aim of the physician, the mission of the physician. At that, our mission is only to give relief. So I need to have very that knowledge. Okay, fine, whether this medicine would be the right remedy for the patient. Now this is the problem. A student comes, okay sir, I have this problem, and I went to three different teachers in our own college, and three different teacher prescribe three different remedies. I am the same patient. I narrated my same complaint to Dr. X, Dr. Y, Dr. Z. But sir, prescribe me this, ma'am, prescribe me this, and you are prescribing me this. So that perception is only when our baseline knowledge is very strong. We'll come to this part later when we connect the dots. So this is one dot. Choice of remedy. Yes, it is connected. How to convert that medicine into choice?
the perfect choice. This is where the actual artistic thing is. We always look upon the legendary homeopaths that they will prescribe some magical remedy. Sometimes they prescribe only a simple remedy. Even an intern, repertories, okay, sir, that legendary homeopath prescribed Natramur to me, and my repertorization also says that it is Natramur. So what is the difference? The difference was maybe a potency, maybe the repetition, maybe how and when to give. This only comes with experience and knowledge, obviously. Then the proper dose and the hint about application. Choosing a remedy is winning half the war, but till how long you will continue that remedy? Patient is following you for like a chronic ailment. So should I get for a month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months or 1 year? So the catch point here is the line of treatment. And this line of treatment, those who have understood this concept, the line of treatment, they are successful in their practice. Because finding a remedy, anyone will find a X or Y remedy. Something will work. The aconite will work, or belladonna will work, or chamomilla will work. Something will work. But what after first prescription? What after second prescription? How to follow? Till when to follow the patient? Patient is taking the treatment for arthritis from you. To till when I should be giving that medicine to the patient, when to give the nosode, when to give the other things. So this hint about application is what I will summarize here as the line of treatment. The more we are perfect in the line of treatment, and you will see the patient comes to you, okay, sir, your line of treatment, what you have, the way you choose the remedy or follow a patient, and when to stop, when not to stop. Okay, fine. Okay, now you don't need any remedy. Take this nosode or take this antisoric. Just go. Just wait and watch. The next thing comes the experimentation. Now, this first pillar is baseline knowledge. We are very strong in that. We have read books, we have read literature, we have read everything, we have listened to all our teachers. Now comes the experimentation. Now, this is a very crucial part of homeopathy because we always experiment. We are called the clinician, we are called the practitioner. We always practice. There was a joke, sir. Doctors are one such breed. They never attain any success because they always practice. They don't attain perfection. Now this perfection is a secondary. It's a relative phenomena, but as a joke, because we always practiced till the time we die. We always practice. So this experimentation is connected to that practice. Now, why it is important? Because there is a thin line between clinical practice and clinical trial. I'll give you one simple example. If a patient is coming to me, say, sir, I have migraine, and give me all the symptoms of belladonna. Let's say, for example, so I chose belladonna. I give belladonna because it was written in the belladonna about the symptoms. The patient gave me symptoms. I matched the symptom, a simple homeopathy, and I give. So in this scenario, it was my faith. It was my baseline knowledge, it was my faith, it was reference from the literature that belladonna works in such kind of headaches. But if I flip the question otherwise, does belladonna affect patients of migraine? So I converted my faith into a question. That becomes the clinical trial, the clinical research. Because I come from a research background, so uh, my purpose is to simplify things. So if you're giving by faith, it is practice. If you're giving by question, asking question, or a suspicion, that is trial. So in trial, you have all the ethical approvals. You need to comply with the protocols, this and that. So but the thin line is that it is faith versus suspicion. Now this experimentation gives us experience. Until unless we experiment, we will not succeed. you know we hear many legendary homeopaths or many speakers. I still remember when I was doing my BHMS. So maybe around 2005, I heard a very, very legendary homeopath, and he said that he cured one patient of infertility with Drustox 1M. So will my patient will also be affected by the Rustox 1F of infertility? No. Till the time I experiment on my own in my patients, I will not succeed. He told his experience. I need to have my own experimentation. Okay, I'll take a reference that Rustox 1M in such cases is important, or tuberculinum, or bacillinum, or any XYZ remedies or the conditions. But I will come home, I will come at my clinic, and I will experiment. Okay, fine. Let me give bacillinum and see whether it is the patients of fungus respond to this remedy or not. And let me tell you, it is a tricky situation. It works for them. It is not working for me because my experimentation setup is altogether different. My mindset is altogether different. My baseline knowledge, my application part is altogether different. So I heard that experimentation of theirs. I heard about the experience of theirs. I came home, but it didn't work for me. So this experimentation is basically we deduce from literature. Okay, fine. This remedy is, in the literature it is given good for PCOD. Let me try this. And what I add, I just add some dosage patterns. I change some frequency of dosage. I change some potencies. I start experimenting. Now, this is what we do when we pass out from our courses. The moment we sit in our clinic, the day one, and let me tell you, if even if you I have attended hundreds of seminars during my studentship, or acquired hundreds of participation certificate, the first patient will teach me everything because that is my own experimentation in my own setup. So this experimentation is from the literature and from others experience. Like I told you the example that a doctor experimented or presented a paper on such, and I will, okay fine, I'll today I'll go tomorrow I'll go my clinic and I will use these remedies because they experimented and they succeeded, and I will also experiment. So this experimentation is the second strongest pillar, and it should be there because it is the first hand information we get from the experiments. Nobody can help hold my hand, okay fine, sort of do this homeopathy, do that homeopathy. No, at the end of the day I have to be an independent practitioner to practice. Even if I'm connected to a school or a thought or a group, at the end of the day I have to come back at my clinic and use those tips, those knowledges, those experimentations in my own unique way. Third comes experience. Now these are all, we have been flowing in a very, very smooth way. We acquired a knowledge, we did our course, we did our experimentation for a few years because people say that you have to spend 3 years at least in your clinic so that your clinic runs. This is what we were told. Ki at least sit for 3 years, don't give up before 3 years, because first year would be beginner's luck. Patient will come to you, you will give something, they will be okay. Second year, it would be a challenge because whether those patient reverted back to you, whether they sent more patient to you, whether their families started coming to you. And the third year, you started to learning, okay fine, this is my line of practice. So this experimentation, or this patience of 3 years or 5 years down the line, it is important. Now comes the experience. It comes hand in hand. Beginner's luck. I gave remedy, people started clapping. Okay, fine, very good, very good, very good. The moment I rose to fame, some complex diseases or patients started coming to me. Then I was in trouble because I did not have experience of handling cancer in such a young age. Okay, fine. This happens with many of the clinicians. I'm just telling in a broader way that this experience is very tricky situation. So this experience comes from our own experimentations, and that is the best, that teaches you the best, because failure and success goes hand in hand. We learn from the failures also. Okay fine. And let me tell you one more real life example. We were sitting in our OPDs. I'm talking way back 2004 and 5. And we were told, do not give graphitis because it causes aggravation. One of our teacher, one of our HOD, she said that, oh, don't give graphitis because it causes aggravation. And we were afraid because as a student, like final year student, we were in final year. Majority of us, we did not dare to give graphitis for those 2 years, the internship period and the fourth year, because no, 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 no. Ma'am has said that whenever you give graphitis, there is bound to be an aggravation. It was not our own experience. Then one fine day, you know what we did? We give graphitis to the patient. Nothing happened. We give sulfur to the patient. Nothing happened. People say sulfur. Don't repeat sulfur. Don't repeat sulfur. My experience is in low potency, sulfur can be repeated. Yes, in high potency, don't repeat it. Okay, in high potency, it is not dated. In low potency, if I'm using 6 or 30, I can vouch it works for me. It works for my patient because I have now learned the art when to repeat it. You cannot blindly repeat in each and every patient. Okay, fine. You're coming with the skin eruption, itching, sulfur. You're coming with the urticaria, sulfur. You're coming with the this and that, sulfur. You're coming with the dermatitis, sulfur. You're giving coming with this, sulfur. No. Now I know the kind of patients they are going to report, how they narrate their symptom, at what stage they need. So this, my own experience taught me many things. And then the others experience also, the bitter experiences, our mentors, our teachers, they tell us, okay, Saurav, don't do this, don't repeat remedies like this, don't give remedies like this, give LM potency. So what I did, to be on safer side in certain situation, I always refer, I always discuss the patient or the cases with my seniors, because I want to learn from their experience. Okay, fine, sir. I have a patient of acanthosis nigricans. It's a simple condition, but it is very hard to treat. Xanthelasma palpebrum. It is very hard to treat. Gallstone. I'm sorry, I have never, had any success in gallstone patients because it is not there. As per my experience, it is not there. So I admit that. So the others' experience is also important. Now, coming to the fourth and the most important pillar, because we have read now beautifully, we are going from the baseline knowledge to the experience or experimentation and then the experience. Now comes the intuition. Now, intuition is very tricky. People spend their lifespan in having that intuition. Okay, fine, sort of. I think my gut feeling says in this case, Argentum is a preferred choice than arsenic album. I have read arsenic album. I have read Argentum nitricum. And this happened few days back. There was a case, and I prescribed Cinna. You know why? Because that clinging feeling was there. The patient was clinging to the symptoms and the situation. And that clinging is basically in chronic phases of Cinna can be a mental symptom also. It is not always that we give Cinna for the worm infestation. But that when that clinging came, I had that intuition. No, no, this is a clinging. This is not suppression. This is not grief. This is not anxiety. This is not this and that. This is something which patient is clinging to. Okay, every few like statements, he take reference of that symptom. Okay, fine, doctor, that happened. Since that, I'm not fine. So we have in our materia medica, not well since. This is one. But if the patient keeps on clinging, 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 so that gave me, hint about a remedy and worked. So intuition. Now, why intuition is important? Because it is beyond our thinking. It is something, okay, fine. Oh, this will happen. No, 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 no. Intuition is not that. It is something beyond. It is automatic. It just comes. It comes after much of experience, I would say. 20-year down the line, 30-year down the line, 40-year down the line. When we visit a very old practitioner, he says, oh, don't give this remedy, because their intuition says, their gut feeling says that it is automatic. They just say and it works. It is non-discretionary. Here lies the importance of philosophy in homeopathy. It is non-discretionary. If we keep on discreting things, like we had one dot few minutes back about the favorite remedies. Favorite remedy is a very common and very allowed concept. What Hahnemann said in Organon, we fail to understand a bit. He said, don't make favorite remedies for the disease names. But we all know that in our clinic, we use not more than 50 to 60 remedies at a stretch. You start writing the names, you use the remedy. And let me tell you how many remedies use. We have 300 remedies. We use occasionally, but in running, over a month, over 2 months, 3 months, you will see those 50 remedy you're uh, putting in your list, that I have to make the order, I have to give the order, because those are the frequently indicated remedies. So should I call them the favorite remedies? Yes, in a sense, say, because for a group of diseases, because there are certain seasonal diseases or environmental diseases, like for example, cough and cold. This is season change time, winters in Delhi. So patients have, cough and cold or season change, they come. So I have a, group of remedies from, ranging from aconite to brainia to dulcamara to gelsemium to eupatorium puff to kalibai, hepersulf, spigelia, sanguinaria, like this. So, I have a, battery, or a group of remedies which I use frequently. But what happens if for every sinusitis patient, if I start giving sanguinaria can? That is the problem. No, sanguinaria can is not the only remedy. Sanguinaria nitricum can be a good remedy. Kali Bai can be a good remedy. Phosphorus can be a good remedy. So I need to keep my mind open and receptive. So this intuition is non-discretionary, because there is a difference between intuition and prediction. Here we fail. We predict. Okay, fine. Take this remedy, you'll be fine in 4 days, 5 days. Natural history is there. The patient is okay. But can we predict in each and every patient? If this is a common practice, a youngster, has the habit of predicting, because the patient usually asks, so how much time would I be okay? For how many months do I need to take the treatment? Okay, fine, take the treatment, because it will take 3 months. Okay, it will take 6 months. Okay, it will take 2 years. Okay, who are we to predict? Is there any mathematical equation or a biological mathematical equation we are very well versed with? No, I'm sorry, no. We cannot predict. Even a simple cough and cold sometime, makes a nuisance for us. It's a trouble for us. You give every remedy, the patient is not responding. Every remedy, you give one remedy, two remedy, three remedy, four remedy, nothing works, because it just happens. So that prediction, I think we need to stop predicting things. It's a flow. It's a flow. When you practice homeopathy, you need to have that flow. And I think because there are many senior physicians sitting here, they know that when the patient comes, they know that flow. Okay, fine, take this remedy, keep on taking this until unless I stop or I taper it off. Because I cannot say, okay, fine, in 3 months your gallstone would be dissolved, and after fourth month the patient would be standing in front of you, sir, you said 3 months, but now it is 4 months, nothing happened. So intuition versus prediction is one which I think is we need to practice. We need to accept that. Moving further, don't be blinded by predictions, because they're not intuitions, they're just predictions. Because sometimes in anxiety also we predict, okay, take this. No, if you have the gut feeling, follow it. No problem, follow it, because this is how you will sharpen your artistic skills in homeopathy. Now, everything is fine. The four pillars are okay. But where is the problem? Where's the problem? We have the good baseline knowledge. We had the best of the teachers. Whenever we I talk to my teachers. They had the best of the teachers. Even I say I have the best of the teachers. They taught me. I have books with me. This and that. I started practicing. I'm into research. This. I started experimenting. My experience is there. Now it's been so many years in homeopathy. So where is the problem? The problem lies in the wrong order. Why? Because we want to get quick success. Every youngster, after 4 year or 5 year down the line or practice, they're not less than Hahnemann. Everybody wants quick success. Okay, fine. I have done this work. I have done so much work. I'm so successful. What about failures? What about failure? Did you have any failure? Okay, fine. I had failure, but I don't want to discuss. Why not? Let me tell you one my own experience. I was the one. I was the one because I have ego. I was the one. I started a journal of case studies in homeopathy. Long back. I mean, I'm talking decade back because I'm into homeopathy since 24 years now, being a student of homeopathy. So I started the journal of case studies in homeopathy. I ran that journal for 3 years. I used to ask everyone to submit their cases because it was the first open access journal in homeopathy dedicated to case series only, cases only, and it failed. Despite having so many homeopaths, so many cases on social media, but people were not willing to submit according to the guidelines. So I struggled with that for 3 years. I developed a website, jchome.org. I put that online, contacted people, ran for 3 years, but ultimately I had to shut it down. That was a failure, but that was a failure because that was a failure which gave me more motivation. So failures part of homeopathy. I don't agree that everyone is so successful and nobody had any failure. So we want to have that quick success without following the order. We have the baseline knowledge. We start using others' experiences without experimentation part. We started using, okay, fine. My sir has used this. I'll use that. My mentor has used this. I'll use that. Everyone wants to have use that experience of others to rise without that experimentation. But I believe, because if we do that, we fail at certain times or we get huge challenges. I've seen people claiming very tall claims. Okay, fine, we will cure cancer and we will cure those chronic cases. We have this. Why not? Why not to publish those things? Why not to present the evidence based data that is still lacking in homeopathy? Right? So I think that order should be there if we want to have a success or a stability in homeopathy as a practitioner. Because if we are stable, if we have those strong foundation, we'll go a long way. Otherwise, I've seen people starting with a boom. Now they are nothing. They're nothing. 4 year, 5 year down the line, they just fade off. So with this, I think we are open to discussions because it's an important topic. And I'm Dr. Saurav because Dr. Dinesh has given a very wonderful introduction of mine. But I'll just take 1 minute to show this on slide. This is I support homeopathy. I started this campaign to promote and support homeopathy because this is one such hashtag which connects us all, whether are a practitioner, whether our patients or our stakeholders or lovers of homeopathy. This I support homeopathy, it's a complete global campaign to support homeopathy. So I would request all to support I support homeopathy, use this hashtag, and now we are open to discussion. Thank you.